This is Emily.
This is Stephanie.
And today we're actually going to do a book review on The Hearts We Sold by Emily Lloyd-Jones. And this is sort of a really interesting book because I would say that it's like a mix of a whole bunch of genres compared to like romance, paranormal, and a little bit of like sci-fi. So I would say that it was definitely a pretty interesting read.
Yeah, we got this as one of our BookCon. I believe we got it from Little Brown. So yeah, I was in the beginning. I kind of picked it because of its cover. I thought it was kind of a unique cover.
She does that.
But and then I kind of, because I honestly I hadn't heard any of the books the lady was giving out. So I asked her. I was like, "Can you just give me a short summary on each of them, just so I can see like what kind of book I would like to pick?" And she said this one's like a paranormal fantasy kind of romance novel, and I was like, sounds great, you know. So I picked this one in lieu of that. And it is what she told me. It is a paranormal fantasy romance kind of book. But I don't know. Did you like it?
I mean, I've actually heard of this type of story, like an archetype, before.
Okay.
So like, not to go too much into it, but like there's like, have you heard of the character Faust?
No.
Okay, so it's the same idea of like you trade something very valuable of yourself, like your soul.
Oh,
or your
yeah,
heart.
I know what you're
talking
about.
Yeah, and then like some things happen to you afterwards.
Yeah.
So I feel like in terms of like the overall like archetype, I don't know if she really did a really like a spin on it that like I was particularly excited for by the end of the book when I was reading it. But it was interesting overall. Like I do think that some of the topics that were brought up about like the fact that she wanted so desperately to leave her home life, and then like the idea of like she was so willing to make the trade and whatever happened afterwards. I think that particular part was the real grab of the story, but everything else was a little convoluted for me.
Yeah, I think it was a little cliche in my part, just because like, okay, yes, like, you know, the whole exchanging something in return for something else is kind of, it's something that's been written a lot of throughout history. You know,
clearly,
Faust
is like from the
so
16th
it's like
century.
This idea itself, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, I mean, it's been used over and over again, but maybe she would put a different spin on it. And I don't know if she did a really good job on that, to be honest. Because I felt when I was reading through it, I was kind of like, okay, like, this is pretty stereotypical, pretty similar to the other books I've read. The only thing that I found kind of unique in this aspect was like the burrowers characters and whatnot, just because I thought that was a little bit different and like interesting. But other than that, like the romance aspect, I was kind of like, eh. Yeah, that was literally my reaction. I was kind of like, I mean, I kind of suspected it was going to happen. It was very, very obvious from the beginning who's going to be of who, you know, like it is what it is. And the other characters were just not very well developed too. I feel like they were just kind of there to play a role. You know, there wasn't any like character building. There wasn't any like plot development too much. The world building was kind of there. I mean, the world building was there in the beginning. I think she did a relatively good job in terms of setting us up in terms of like who these demons were and like what they wanted, and then like etc. etc. So I thought that part was actually like done fairly well, but I think that was it.
Yeah. So like, for me, I probably have to agree with everything you said, and just not to be repetitive. I would definitely say that for me, definitely the cover deceives.
Yeah, like honestly, like let's actually just get into the spoilers aspect of this video now, just so we can talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
So everything we said is like for non-spoilers. So if you haven't read it, go pick it up. If you are interested, if you don't care about reading it, then you can just follow us along, or if you read it before. But anyways.
So I think for me mostly, it's just I don't really like James. I just didn't.
Yeah. He never really struck me as like a really like great guy.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think like just speaking overall, because this is another YA, and I feel like lately I've just been complaining about YA a lot, but it's gonna start again because I feel like a lot of authors suffer from this idea that they can't break their characters' hearts. Kind of. I feel like there's like the struggle between like Dee and James weren't like, because you were saying how the romance really like was a component of the story that really was disappointing.
Yeah.
And I think that was also something that kind of ached at me too. Like I was kind of expecting more, given the fact that it was advertised as like a paranormal romance, a bit like that.
And like one thing I want to just say is like, so they all gave their hearts away. How the heck are they falling in love? Like, where is this heart? You know, like. Where's the emotion? Like, because the whole point that I was really curious about was, you know, as soon as, you know, the demon took her heart away, she felt kind of like dulled in a sense. Like, I think she said it like, you know, she didn't really start, she felt like she was kind of like out of body experience or something like that, where she didn't really feel emotions as much, and yet they're falling in love. Like, you would think that would require some emotion, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, like I said, like, this type of story has been written before. So we had mentioned earlier, I had actually mentioned it earlier in this channel, like, the portrait of Dorian Gray. So something similar like him definitely happens, where, like, he basically is like, I'll exchange this in order for all, like, my stuff to be on this portrait. And he basically did essentially give his heart away to stay in order to stay young forever. And that angle of the story actually made a lot more sense, because like he personally didn't feel anything when he broke other people's hearts, and it really mattered. What mattered wasn't really like what Dorian did, what mattered was what those characters did because of him, and that's how you judge the character. While that's what I kind of meant by like the author not really willing to take that like risk, like stepping out of that like cliche territory, she wasn't willing to like put most of her characters under that sort of judgment. And I think that actually made the story weaker.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of the stuff in here, just because it, like you said, like it would have been much more an enticing novel if, for example, she felt no emotions like she's supposed to. But the thing is, like, the reason why this demon in particular was taking hearts away too was because he wanted the humans to still actually have like function. You know, like he still wanted them to have like the brains and like the courage to do things, because he was like, they actually are smart, as opposed to these humanoids that the other demons are trying to create to like, you know, destroy these burrowers and whatever. By the way, burrowers, I cannot pronounce. It's like a tongue twister. Where like and to me, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, because you took their heart, but they still have their brain, you know, because like they can still think.
Robots.
But the thing is, why are you calling them like courageous and everything if like courage is part of the heart?
Yeah, it's
you
emotion.
know, it's an emotion. So you can't tell me like, oh, they still have all these emotions, this is why I picked them, yet I'm taking their heart away, which is the core of this emotion.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was my biggest issue with this book in general, just because it didn't really make sense to me. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's as much as I really had to say about the story itself. I think overall, like, the tale itself, I've read it before. I do appreciate her attempt on it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it was the most refreshing type of read. I particularly, like, if you were to say you would want to pick up a story like it, I'd actually go back to the classics.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like maybe, you know, when I was younger, I would like this book more, but like nowadays with so many other really great like young adult fiction out there, I'm kind of like, the main character Dee, like, I just didn't really like relate to her that much. So I was kind of like, I don't know, her issues, her like the way how she reacted to things, I was kind of like, okay. And then James, like the guy that she's supposed to like, you know, be in love with without her heart, I don't know if it I don't know if it's because like he was always portrayed as like a hobo looking guy, you know, that I was kind of just like,
she likes her straight ties.
No, it's not even just that. It's just like, I don't understand the attraction, because like he comes off as someone who's always looks like unwashed, you know, kind of grimy looking. Like she described him literally as a homeless guy like multiple times in this book. And then I was just like, okay, like I get that's fine if you like into that kind of guy, but like then the character development too, I was kind of like, oh, but then you're actually really rich. I was like, that's weird. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like unbalanced in my opinion.
Oh, and yeah, that fact about his wealth as like part of the attraction factor, I was like, I don't really understand why that's necessary.
Yeah, that's hence the unbalance, okay? Like, if you want to stick with a homeless theme, then you stick with that theme, you know?
Yeah, because like, that would actually have made the overall affection that was growing between them.
Like more like real, you know?
Not necessarily more like, well, it doesn't, like, I guess it does, but I would say that it definitely would have been a clear trajectory. Like, it wouldn't have like complicated things more, because we know like generally like there's feelings, and then there's like money, and there's all these other factors in real life. And I think part of the story is not to forget that. It's like when you're writing, it's also like if you want to keep it simpler, you know, like something like that sort of like like just overall this story I feel like could have done better with simpler like narrative. Like I really don't think when it comes to romance it really is that hard to make people feel something for your characters unless you try to overcomplicate things like we said.
So anyways, that's our very convoluted book review on The Heart So We Sewed. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, not really.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's all we can really say about it. So either you pick up this book and make it judge for yourself, and let us know what you think, or you can just pass this book. I don't know. But
yeah. So well, thank you guys for watching us. We please comment down below and let us know what you really think.
Yeah. So that's it for today. Don't forget that we do have a Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we also recently created a podcast that is very curated. So we only pick a few videos a month that we will post on our podcast channel. So if you're on the go, definitely check that out. And that's it.
Yep, that's it.
All right,
thank you
guys.
Bye.
Bye.